And we will go ahead and get started with number one, state excise tax on adult use cannabis. I believe most of these items were placed into committee of the whole in January, so it is possible that we already have some answers and or solutions.
So I believe I'm the one who put this in the committee. As folks know here and watching, we get a percentage of what the cannabis dispensaries in Norwood pay. I believe it's 3% of 10%. And we got an 18-month arrears at the beginning of the year, which was $646,000. And then we received payment in January and February at about $42,000. Now, it's important to remember, basically at any time, the state can say, we changed our mind, because they did before. So this is not money, in my estimation, that we should count on in perpetuity, but rather a bit of a windfall that let's figure out what we want to do with it. Mr. Bonsall was interested in putting it in the streets, which, as we know, is a huge priority. I don't want to put all of it in the streets because we have a lot of needs. We've got a lot of things that we would like to spend money on. And $42,000 a month, like how much would that get us in terms of streets? We might be able to get more bang for our buck. So anyway, I wanted us to have a conversation, all of us. What do we think we should do with it? And I've got some ideas, but.
I feel the same way about the streets. I think it's like a actual drop in the bucket in terms of what impact it could make versus if it went to like parks improvements or some other like smaller projects. $600,000 like could be an entire project budget. I think if there's something that we could like put a bow on and wrap up nicely and have a project completed with the funding, that would be awesome. I would love to see some of it go to parks.
I'd say that's where I'm leaning, for me in particular, because it's the cannabis tax. I would like to have some sort of continuity between where it's coming from and what it's being used. So for me, having it go towards spaces where people can connect and be, outdoors and physical and exercise, that feels like real community engagement. So that's where I would love to see some funding, and I agree, $50,000, $42,000 could do a whole big thing. It could, buy play sets for the parks. It could actually be tangible stuff that we could have for a long time. So I would second that thought.
Susan, just to say that back to you said 646 was kind of the initial payment, and then it's been 42 for each of the last 2 months.
Correct.
Yeah.
So annually, let's just round number, say 500,000 a year is the annualized amount for some unknown period of time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm wholeheartedly interested in putting this 100% towards the streets. I do think there is a big bang for our buck. There are sections of streets, for instance, the section in front of the Creamy Whip by Sharpsburg on Forest. That one section of street is, it's one of our rougher roads, and it's only $80,000 2 years ago to completely repave that one section. And so I think there are sections of smaller, not sections of, there are smaller streets that this would completely change. I feel we owe it to the citizens to put all of this money to streets. I think a smaller percentage of our citizens use parks. All of our citizens use the streets. If you look at the capital improvement plan over the next couple of years, we're already putting $12,000 and $25,000 and $50,000 into each park. And I question the efficacy of that, because we're putting $25,000 into a park that 10% of Norwood is going to use. And another 12 or 15,000 into another park that 10% of Norwood is going to use, where the roads are something that everybody uses. And I think time and time again, that is the number one piece of feedback I get on council is about the roads. And I think we need to have a really good rationale to not put this towards roads.
I think not only that one block on Forest, but another one that would be interesting to look into as far as cost is Wall Street.
Yes.
With that being, especially with the increased traffic with the Board of Elections, so those from all around the county, do we really want that, the current condition of that street to be kind of the,
The only challenge with Wall Street is that that's concrete.
Correct.
Which means it's
Really expensive.
exponentially more expensive. And I really appreciate your comment.
Jeff.
Well, I didn't want to call you
Mr.
Jeff.
Garten?
Councilmember Burton. That was the brain pause.
Who are you?
I was like, I'm not going to call you Jeff.
Who are you people?
And as I'm thinking about this, one of the later items, item 3, is the community survey, which maybe we should take a dive into that, because that is absolutely, I mean, no one comes through Norwood and says, oh my God, the streets are amazing. Like, no one. So I'm curious if, two things. One, if reviewing that, all of that data from the residents would be helpful. Granted, it's not all the residents, and it's mostly homeowners, interestingly, skewed more towards homeowners. And then I'm also thinking maybe we should wait until we get the street survey, which will tell us more information about what streets. And like, I'm curious if that street now is 80,000 or is it now 200,000 because of further decay and pricing.
I'm sure it's
So I'm-
increased, but
Yeah.
I think more than double is a big.
Well, again, I have no idea. So I'm just curious if this is a conversation we should pause until we review the survey, or. Sorry, go ahead.
Could we answer a couple questions?
Absolutely.
So, do we have to spend it right now?
No.
Kind of looking to you, Jeff.
No, we don't need to spend it right now. The Finance Committee is looking towards a capital projects fund. The problem with that is that if we decide to vote on this, we have to label what the expenses are for. We can be pretty general with those expenses. There's one ordinance that just says, one sample ordinance that I looked at that says improvements to these buildings and street improvements, and that's as general as they are. The problem with just leaving it in our general fund is that it artificially inflates our general fund, and that causes accounting problems that trickle down. So there is some practical benefit in trying to put this into a capital project fund sooner than later. But I think the holdup on that right now is that we need to decide as council what would we vote on to say this is where the project funds should go towards.
I think that for me, I'm more leaning toward Mr. Girton as far as trying to focus more on streets. But I think that the beauty of the capital fund is that we can make it as general as possible. We don't have to say it's only for streets. We can say infrastructure improvements as well as community centered parks, et cetera. That gives us more flexibility if there's a maybe once in a lifetime opportunity to use that money to put it toward a grant for parks or a grant for streets, that we need like $500,000 to match or $50,000 to match. Having that money there and having it be able to be used is good. I think it would also be good to make sure, see if the administration has anything specific that they think something like $640,000, like they could give examples about like, hey, this is a project that would cost this much and this is what we'd use the money for. Or we could pave this street, these two streets with this one, and then also still have money for improving the shelter of Millcrest or whatever. So I think I agree it should go into capital fund, the capital improvements thing. I think that's the best way forward. And then I think since ultimately we don't get to direct exactly what projects happen exactly, talking to the administration, seeing what they think should be improved, everything should be improved, but see what they are most interested in, what projects specifically they might have in mind, and then going from there. One question I had is once we apportion it, do they have to get approval from us to spend the money on the project?
No. So
I didn't think so, but like, yeah. So narrowing it, if we really only wanted parks, we'd have to say only parks. If we really only wanted streets, we'd have to say only streets. Okay, sorry, I'm just thinking out loud, so.
the way I understand that process, to respond to that, if we say, in this ordinance for the resolution for a capital project fund, if we say streets and parks, the administration can then use any of that money on any project on parks they want to do. So we could tell them, we want this to go to Victory Park until we're blue in the face, but the administration has no obligation to do that whatsoever. They're allowed to spend up to $80,000 of this money without coming to council. And anything above $80,000, they would then have to ask for an ordinance to get our approval. But the administration can spend this however they want. If we say streets, they just have to spend it anywhere on streets. If we say parks and be that general, they can spend it in $80,000 increments without our approval on any park.
Yeah, and it's relatively easy to split up projects such that they don't have to come to us for every single $80,000 expense. That's a pretty typical thing for a lot of projects because you think about we know they're going to do park improvements. We don't need them to tell us, yes, we are going to do these park improvements again that we already told you about.
Follow-up question to my other one. We don't have to spend the money now, but it's going to be beneficial for us to move the money into an account for like a holding. Can we place it there to say this is a stowaway savings account until we actually make a decision on what we want to use it for?
The way I understand, Anna Mary, the state overseer, gave us this ORC 5707, 5705.13. There are 3 subsections to that. One subsection that we have not looked into is basically a holding account until such a time as this. I do believe it has to be used within 10 years. Within any point, we can create another resolution to move that money to a different fund. We could close that fund, put it in the general fund. So there is, if you read 5705.13A, there is this amorphous savings account that we can put it into.
Okay. So the reason I ask those questions is because I'm thinking about the tax levy that we just are pushing forward, and that may pivot where we want to put money depending upon what that levy looks like when it comes back from the auditor. And it also may change how we want that levy to look like if we want to use all the money for the funds.
That's kind of what I was thinking, and I was wondering, I think Emily or Council Member Franzen, sorry, kind of answered my question with this, but does it all need to go towards one thing, or can we kind of split it up amongst projects?
Like 50% go to streets and 30% go to parks
Oh,
and 10%
that's a
go
great question, if we can be that specific with ratios, or if it's just that it is a blanket approval for anything under those categories.
To my knowledge, there's no sample or example ordinance resolution that I've seen that specifically states this percentage and this percentage. There have been many examples where it says these projects, but it doesn't explicitly state X amount of this money to this project and X amount of money to that project. I'm guessing there's a way to legalese that if we wanted to.
And I would think we could put it into different funds though. Like we could take this $600,000 and we could say we want to put 500,000 of it into streets funds. And then we want to put the other $100,000 into
The capital improvement
Yeah, if we
fund.
wanted to, instead of saying like this project, I would imagine that we could break it up into we could deposit it into different funds in whatever, it's,
In theory, to my
theory.
understanding,
Yeah.
we could create 2 project funds, or one into this amorphous savings and one into a project fund. Assuming the state approves that.
Speaking of the state, Susan, my last question maybe. Is there any option for us to do something with this money that gets us out of fiscal emergency quicker?
If I can respond. To my understanding, the issue with fiscal emergency right now is not a monies issue. It is a accounting procedural kind of issue. Mr. Miracle, from my time on council, has been working extremely hard trying to get the measures taken care of. But there is nothing that I've heard of or seen that says money is the thing that is stopping us from getting out of fiscal emergency.
if we put this money in this, somewhere in the ether savings account, would we be earning interest?
I assume so.
Big fat bummer that we didn't have this money 18 months ago, so we could have started earning interest.
Yes, we could have even more money.
At our beautiful interest rate that our treasurer has so stalwartly fought for. Does the state owe us interest on that? I don't know.
I was gonna ask.
But I feel like maybe the general consensus right now is that like putting it in a holding account seems like a smart until we have more information. Or I agree. I think that doing something like a baby version of what we presented to Greg Landsman for the grant opportunities, like a smaller version of that from city administration, where they say like, hey, with this amount of money, we could get like these 3 things done. And here's like why we haven't been able to move forward in these. And this is like the impact it could make. And it could be a streets, it could be whatever.
Yeah, I'm thinking especially with the streets projects that are coming up, if it's the case where they just need a little more money to use the equipment that's already there to do one of the smaller streets like Forest or like a dead end street that's close to South Jefferson, since that's coming up soon, it would be great to have that ability, because when we were doing Smith and Montgomery, the original plan was to redo that little section by Creamy Whip, and then they just didn't have the money. So having that flexibility would be great for at least some of this money because that's going to save us money in the long run, having the equipment already there and just being able to say, okay, we're only paying for the material as opposed to getting the whole kit and caboodle out would be ideal.
Would it make sense to get more information and revisit? Sounds like we want to ask administration their ideas. It sounds like we need to find out the different flexibilities that we could have with where we would put it. Sounds like we also need the street survey.
It might be good to make a resolution or ordinance just to get it in like basically a savings account type of thing, like use that holding thing just to get it out of the general fund. I don't know how urgent that is. If we can get that passed, then we can just change it once we have more information. It's not like it's set in stone that it has to always be in there. But I think and I may be wrong, Mr. Girton, but I think the urgency was just to make sure it was not sitting in the general fund for too long and getting it in this particular fund to prevent it. Yeah, so that's kind of my feeling, is making sure that it's kind of safe there. We can figure out what projects might be good, or get more information from administration, and then once we have that information, pass a different resolution. Say, okay, we've done our due diligence. Let's get this money rolling.
So, Jeff, so I think, as I originally understood it, it was, what's the source of the money, what's the amount, and what is it going towards? So that was sort of the need to define like the project scope. It sounds like you're saying that there is like another path that is sort of to make a fund that doesn't meet that third criteria, so I think that question at least needs to be answered. Is can we do that? Because I was thinking that we had to sort of specify the scope of eligible projects.
In the capital fund that we're looking at currently, yes, we need to define the scope of the projects.
Okay. So then I guess more clarity on what is this sort of wild card parking lot option? Like I'm not clear where that option is coming from.
I'm looking at it now, and it basically says to establish reserve balance accounts to accumulate currently available resources for the following purposes. One is to stabilize subdivision budgets against cyclical changes in revenues and expenditures, which is just kind of holding it in our sub-general fund for a time whenever the economy crashes.
And then at that time, we are able to create a new capital project fund off of that? Convert that, I guess?
I would need to double check that, but from what I understand of the subsection C that we're looking at, it says that at any point we can resolute.
Yeah. So I think that's just my couple comments. I think that is one thing just to like know for sure the answer to is this sort of like park-it account, and then can the park-it account be converted later to a project fund?
It does say that we shall state the purpose for which this other account is being established. So we would have to have some purpose for creating this amorphous account.
So we would say the purpose of this is to
Hold it.
untangle it from general fund and to earn interest until future date specified.
Or savings.
I will look into that.
Right, because I think just whether or not that's even, I think we have to figure that one out first. Just totally different thought that I have. I think streets. I think fleet vehicles of different departments comes to mind for me. I think one thing that is kind of unfortunate is that we don't have a long range plan for the city because right now sort of the most immediate need is the streets. But I like Chief McCabe was here last meeting and said our firehouse is outdated and da 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 da. And I've heard the police station is outdated and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, man, it would be great if we knew there was some future plan for a municipal safety building and we could put money towards the down payment on construction of a project like that. But we don't, because we don't have a plan and we don't know what those like future capital needs are in a big picture kind of strategic way. So I just want to lament that fact. And then the other thing that I wonder about is is anybody aware of anything special that council or the city administration did to attract these dispensaries to Norwood?
I would say we did not attract that they came when they opened up the possibility for licenses.
The lottery.
There were many locations that were requested, and then these are the two that stuck, essentially.
Yeah. We made it hospitable to them in that we did not change our zoning to prohibit them like some municipalities did. Mm-hmm. So, most municipalities did not introduce any new legislation or zoning requirements for dispensaries, so they had a pretty wide swath of places to go, but we didn't say no, and that was good.
Okay. Yeah, because I guess, this might be a little out there, but in a way, this is kind of found money, right? Like I find $20, I'm walking down the street with my friend Jason and I say, hey, Jason, I just found $20. You want to go get lunch? It's on me. When I think about this being called like the host community adult use cannabis revenue share, or whatever it is, I wonder if there's a community part of this to say that we are going to 50% share this found money with other important players in the community, such as the school district. That would be another thought I have.
One other thought on streets. We just passed a resolution to take steps to get an increased tax on the ballot for streets. And I question the validity of that going to the voters if we're not willing to put our money where our mouth is. In essence, we're asking voters to pay more in tax, but we don't think that streets are that big of a priority. And I think that sends a mixed message.
I hear you, and I disagree, because there are so many pieces that we do have to attend to. And so one of my concerns is if we're like, okay, we're going to stop everything else and put all of our money into streets, to me, that turns our back to so many other moving pieces that need to be attended to. I'm still waiting to see what the math for, and I appreciate the numbers you gave me the other day. So I'm not at this point saying yes levy, no levy. I'm saying let's get the information and talk about it. What would that mean? What would that look like? How will things, how quickly will that make things move? But Norwood is more than just our streets. And to me, we need to, I think it's important that we do take a holistic approach. And I'm also a resident and I will also be impacted by any tax increases. So I'm not asking a resident to do more than I'm going to be doing. So I guess that's part of I hear you, but I guess I have a different lens that I look at.
And I do hear that too, because that's, I think about it as if we were trying to bootstrap our new business from the ground up. Before I went to my friends and family, I would say, that I put every last dollar that I have into this, now I need some of your money, so I understand the sentiment on the streets of saying, we as the city have put everything we can into the streets before we go ask, somebody else to help further that cause or accelerate it.
I agree, but I also think if you were starting a business and you put every single penny you had into starting that business, and then went and asked your folks to support you, someone would say, why didn't you save money to pay your mortgage or to feed yourself or to put clothes on your body? Like, I think we owe it to the residents and to the city at large to not neglect other things because we don't want to forsake the streets. I live on what is, like, as far as our last street study, one of the worst quality streets in the city. So I, trust me, feel the pain of poor street quality and streets that have been long neglected. And I think it's worth continuing the conversation to see what kind of money or what kind of impact this money could have on streets. I feel like I want to approach it from a perspective of how can this money make the most tangible impact. And if this money can pave one block of street, or this money could complete 10 other projects that would improve folks' quality of life here, then I think that's a conversation worth having. I agree that asking other folks to contribute if we are not contributing is unfair, but it's not that we aren't contributing. We have millions of dollars budgeted for the streets, and I think that's important to note. I also do want to be conscious of time. We are halfway through, and we are on our first item.
I want to point out that we're not lacking money to pay our mortgage. We have a very robust budget. We just presented that a couple of weeks ago. We're about to vote on a budget for the upcoming year that includes, for instance, $175,000 on Lower Millcrest, $150,000 to put lights at Waterworks Park, $525,000 to create a brand new park in the Wasson Connector, $45,000 on the pool concrete, $600,000 on an elevator in the rec center, $70,000 in the community center bathrooms, $200,000 on a boiler in the community center. I mean, we are addressing $6.5 million of capital improvements needs in our current proposed budget for 2026. We are not neglecting parks. We're not neglecting the nuts and bolts of the city. We are absolutely neglecting the streets, and every resident in Norwood knows that. I just want people to have a holistic picture of what the budget is actually doing and not conjecture.
But can I ask what's budgeted for streets next year, for this year?
Yes, we are spending $780,000 out of our streets fund on the streets. We have a street fund that comes through some kind of gasoline tax. Yeah. We're spending $1.2 million out of that. And that is getting grant funds to do other things. That we're planning to spend $1 million out of the street fund every year for the next 5 years. But that money is going to dwindle down to, it gets like $900,000 from every year. But we're dwindling down that cash fund balance as well. And I mean, Ms. Franzen has already said it, it's going to take like 30 years to address the streets. I don't understand why this isn't a bigger priority for us.
I think it's like it's north of 2 million out of existing streets fund and general fund, and then there's other sort of matching dollars that are unlocking even more than that. So
Sure.
the total investment is well north of 2 million.
I don't think that we are neglecting our streets. I think that we're working very hard to repair the damage that decades of neglecting our streets has done. I think we are spending tons of time and energy and money on the streets. And I don't think that anyone has said that there is no interest in pursuing a streets project with this. I just want to be open to the possibility of other items. I certainly do see streets as a big priority. I just want to ensure that we're getting the most impact out of the money that we have, because it is free money. And if the most impact we can have is on a streets project, that's great. I just think it's worth having a conversation.
Well, sounds like we need more information from the administration.
Can we revisit this?
We can leave it in committee, and we
Can we be specific in, maybe Mr. Girton, if you could get information on the verbiage for future resolutions And
What specifically are you looking for?
in terms of how can we write the resolution, can we have it as a savings account? That was the discussion that we were having earlier. Is that a thing that we can do?
Can we apply percentages to the,
Like, what flexibility do we
earmarks.
have in that? I feel like that would be one question. And then someone could connect with the administration. I'm happy to do that. If somebody else wants to, that's fine.
And I think one way, instead of a different way to look at the percentage is to look at the total amount of the funds. So instead of creating one fund and doing a percentage out of that, taking a percentage of the funds that we receive and designating those into different funds. So kind of doing that percentage designation on the front end instead of trying to determine if we can put a percentage project allotment within a fund, if that makes sense. So we have, I'll say $640,000. Can we create one fund for infrastructure, streets projects, another for infrastructure park projects, another potentially for infrastructure building projects? So we're taking that $640,000 and allocating it proportionally, as opposed to trying to, I think it could turn into a headache if you're trying to do percentage-based within the fund.
Yeah, because then it's like, well, this 81%, we need that.
Right.
Yeah.
Or other perspective with that is you have, let's say for whatever reason, the amount that we receive decreases, and we've already utilized 40% for one item, which we really only, let's say hypothetically, set aside 60%. And now that number is significantly more than what we've allocated, because looking for the duration of the year, we're not receiving the number of funds that we had expected or projected. That makes sense.
So let's say that the answer is yes, that we can do these things, which I assume there's a way to legalese these things.
Right.
What changes next time we meet? How do we take that next step? What are we looking for other than?
I want to see what the levy would give us. I want to see what the street survey tells us. That's information that I want to have.
community survey?
Yeah, take a look at the community survey. And I have glanced at it, and there are certainly a lot of people that say streets, absolutely. And there are also people that say, don't forget the other things. Hey, I see you're working on streets. Do this as well. So for me to be responsive to everyone, I want to make sure that I'm really listening to everybody.
So
And
is
then-
your ideal then that you basically want it to be held indefinitely apart from the general fund until we have time to review these other things, at which time we can kind of weigh the best use?
If it takes that long, I don't know. I mean, there certainly hasn't been a rush to move it. I think rushing to move it to get interest would be good, but I guess I'm assuming that it's earning interest now. I could be mistaken.
It's earning interest in the general fund.
Yeah. So for me, I don't feel like we need to do something immediately unless there's I don't have a sense of urgency about it. I have a sense of wanting to make sure we have all the information and make a solid decision.
Information that I would like is from city administration, is there are projects that are currently being held up due to lack of funding, or that are like smaller projects that this would be able to achieve? Just like info from city administration on potential use.
So
Can we just keep it in
we
committee
can
and then
keep
get to
that.
these questions?
Yep.
Yep.
Does someone want to talk to admin? Or is it okay if I do it?
I mean, you're welcome. I'm fine following up.
Okay.
So the way I have that kind of in the minutes is looking for answers to the following prior to reporting out. So funds generated by a street levy, feedback from community survey, feedback from city administration on projects currently lacking funding. Was there anything else? Or were
The
those kind
street
of?
survey
Oh, that's right. street
and
survey.
the information from the auditor. Just remind us of.
Yes, funds generated by a streets levy.
Thank you.
All right. Housing development. Well, before we move on, was there anything else on that, or we're good there until we get all of this information? So we'll leave this one in committee. It'll be captured in the minutes, but it will not be reported out.
For timing, can we jump to number 4 and get the committee dates
Yep.
on the calendar?
Yep. And that should say date/schedule. For whatever reason, I hit enter on my email. It was not schedule published agendas. It was standing committee meeting dates/schedule.
May
Yes.
I lead off here?
Yep.
So here's kind of my thinking about this, is that the way I see it, that there are 8 meetings, I think, that we're trying to have happen every month. The 2 standing meetings of council, the 1 committee of the whole, and then the 5 committees, so law, finance, park, streets, engagement. So I see that basically as like 8 meetings to slot over 4 weeks. And I think about that as basically like, do we just do two of them every Tuesday is my thinking. So I know right now, for example, committee of the whole is the first Tuesday, council is the second and fourth. And do we just look to basically supplement those with one immediately prior, and then on that third Tuesday, we have 2 committee meetings? That's kind of how I'm thinking about it anyway.
No, I have the most difficult schedule to work with, and Tuesdays are my only guaranteed free day because of councils. For me, meetings on Tuesdays are the easiest to do.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I can do Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah, my schedule is going to be different next semester, but in general, Tuesdays are the best, and then Wednesday. So
Works for me.
So
Do you have a spreadsheet where you've already figured out where we should do it? 'Cause
No,
that'd be awesome.
that'd be great.
The thoughts that I have as far as like what might slot in there. So if we're saying committee of the whole is the first Tuesday, in my mind anyway, I could see the engagement, communication, and outreach one sort of pairing with that, just because I think that these both kind of have to do with like a more accessible version of council for people to engage with. I know that, at least in the last year, the finance committee has been paired on that second Tuesday with council. And I think part of that is helpful as it pertains to kind of like looking at the last month's end of month reports, while still providing that a little bit of time for them to get in order, those first 10 days or so of the month. And then I think just personally, as far as how the others would slot in, meaning parks, finance, law and ordinance, I think those are like grab bag of, weeks 3 and weeks 4.
Didn't you think that communications should go at the first Tuesday?
So first Tuesday would be communication and committee of the whole. Second would be finance and then standing council. And then third would be 2 of our choice, and fourth would be the last one in council. I do feel, I don't know, I feel like there's a benefit to having a law and ordinance meeting before a council
Scheduled
meeting.
that for the next 2 days.
We can change them if you want to change
I
them.
would prefer on Wednesdays.
My attendance is going to be more difficult on Wednesdays, but do not reschedule things because of one person.
Understood.
But if you want to keep that on Wednesdays, it is already on the books.
For which Wednesday of the month?
Every other starting the 18th.
Every other Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
So twice a month.
So then the third or the fourth, you would only need one.
Right. every other?
Every
Or is
other.
it the second? So not the second and the fourth?
Every other week.
Every other.
And then we'll cancel if we don't have agenda items.
So that means parks and streets need to
Okay.
slot in
um,
somewhere.
Parks would be good on the 4th or 1st for me, whatever.
There is
can't
no
do the
room
first.
on the first.
Sorry, not the
Third
1st.
or, third or fourth?
4th.
Fourth? So Parks is on the fourth? And then on the third,
Finance?
Finance is on the second
Second, isn't it?
with, before council?
That would be changing.
Isn't that what it is now?
Currently, it's on the 4th.
Oh,
So Parks can be on the 2nd Tuesday
there you
instead.
go.
So no big deal.
Finance on the fourth, parks on the second.
I think it's just because last month we changed it.
We did
Because
one
of-
month because of the FRP.
Yeah, so that was the reason why it was different this one, or last one.
And so we can have housing and streets on the third?
Okay.
Or streets and housing, I always get it.
Then streets.
And I noticed, this might be a comment or a request for you, Mr. Gears, oh my gosh, where did it go? The information on it is not, here it is.
Oh, is it older?
Yeah, but it's not older, it's just,
You're talking about the members?
yes,
Yeah, it's incorrect.
there it is, the directory,
That's probably. not
which
the issue.
is the
So it
council.
doesn't reflect the new.
Right. There's an issue where Danielle and Jeff have been swapped.
It's updated, it's just not correct. So it's,
So which, let me make sure that I have the correct one. What committee?
it's on the Norwood.gov Document Center directory. It has streets and housing.
Yep.
It has Mr. Burton, and sadly, he's not on that, apparently. And that
Gotcha.
is-
So it was a good time having him there.
Yes, we enjoyed you, you're always welcome. And then what was the other? Oh, the small business and economic development. And that's gone.
Because that's sort of nested in committee of the whole. But it is listed on the committee of the whole, not updated.
Oh, it sure is, in small biz, okay. So streets and housing on the third Tuesday.
Ms. Franzen? I was behind a couple minutes, and Mr. Moore and I just conferred. If you would like to have the parks on the 4th, we can change the finance to the 2nd.
Okay, yeah, whatever works, whatever is better for like the end of month reports, because I think that's what John said, so that is fine. Sorry, I was updating my calendar in my phone,
So
because that's the only way I
finance-
remember this thing.
Finance will be second. And Parks will be on the 4th.
Yeah, okay.
Do we have set times for all of these?
6:30, is that good?
You can actually mention the time. I think, I don't know, maybe it was just me. I think at the end of last year when we talked about it, there was at least some conversation about council starting at 7 and then the committee being at 6 preceding that. And I think part of that was to like make it earlier in the night, but also to avoid like kind of this 5:30, 6:30, 7:30 thing that happens every so often. And so I guess if we're talking about times, I would reopen the case on, should we do like 6 is the standing committee and then 7 is the council?
6 is fine with me. I can do Parks Committee at least at 6 on the 4th.
I'm a big fan of moving council to 7 as long as it doesn't impact accessibility for folks. I wouldn't think 30 minutes would be that big of a difference, but I could be wrong.
I agree. I think we'd have to open the council rules.
Correct.
Yes.
That would have to get discussed at a council meeting and then placed into law and
Law.
ordinance for discussion.
Which we
Committee of the
could,
whole cannot change.
but we can,
Rules of
Brought up
council.
during new business.
but we can at least put our committee reports at, or at our committees at 6 in advance of this, just so we don't have to change them too.
Is
As
that
if-
for all committees or,
At least just for Parks. I don't know
Okay.
about everyone else's, but
okay.
I'm happy to do the streets at 6.
That's on the
Something
third Tuesday, so you can do that one whenever.
I know.
worth considering. Committee of the whole is scheduled to start at 6:30. And if we are doing engagement the same day, does that mean we push committee of the whole to 7? Or does that mean we start engagement early?
I think in my mind, it would be the main meeting of the night, let's say, is at 7, and the committee meeting is at 6.
Okay.
And then finance, so you'll then be 6. All right. And law and ordinance, I know that's on a Wednesday. That meeting time,
5:30.
all right.
Great.
Just, is that, like, I think, does that, like, I think part of the standing committee idea is that it makes it easier that if I really care about the parks, I know fourth Tuesday at 6 is my place to be. From a, like, resident user experience point of view, does having law and ordinance basically be every other week make it harder to pin down when that is?
Rather than, say, the 2nd and the 4th Tuesday.
Just it not
Wednesday.
being fixed. It's, some months it might be the first and the third Wednesdays, and other months it might be the second and fourth Wednesdays, like that kind of thing. It'll move around.
Well, if it's every other, you're also going to throw in a 5th Wednesday, potentially.
Right. So it'll be
Right.
first, third, and it'll be first, third, fifth, second, fourth, second, fourth, second, fourth, and then at some point it'll flip back. And just, I think part of the standing one is that they are fixed somewhere. And so I would just bring up that as far as making that one sort of harder to engage with for folks.
So I might be a little behind. Committee of the whole meeting, are we keeping it at 6:30 or are we moving it to 7?
That will move to 7, so that engagement can start at 6.
Okay.
But city council is not changing
Yes.
until further notice.
Correct. That cannot change until the rules are amended.
Just confirm it. as
Yes.
moving. Want to see if we can knock out another quick one, which is about publishing our agendas on social media. This was an idea, a lot of cities do this. It could be as simple as just taking this and having it be posted on the city's website or the city's Facebook page. I like it as a way for folks to know what's going on and what we're talking about, but wanted to see what other folks thought about that, and also then who would be in charge of it.
I think it's a great idea. I think it improves accessibility. I've complained about this before, and I probably will again, but our website is like impossible to navigate for most folks. And I think Civic Plus can be like equally challenging if you're not familiar with it. I think that there is no drawback to having it available in an additional place. I do not know who would be in charge of that, but it seems there is not a streamlined process for who is in charge of posting on social media anyway.
There may be now.
Okay.
I don't know if folks know, but Sharon Stein, our amazing secretary, she retired. And so we have a new person in that role. I've not met Ronaldo. And I know that he's going to be taking a bigger piece of social media.
Seems like it would be fairly simple when the agenda gets sent out, just have them grab that image and post it on socials.
Yeah, be good to have that.
Is it something that the clerk of council could do? Would she have access to
Clerk or the admin to the council.
Secretary.
either?
Yeah, because the agendas are
Well,
communicated. Are we talking all meetings or specifically the council, regular council meetings?
I would think all committee meetings as well as council, but would there be a concern that that's too much?
I think the agenda packet is pretty dense.
It wouldn't be the packet.
It would just be the agenda
this.
sheet.
Right, even
That's-
that sheet, I'm just trying to envision that on a Facebook post, you might have to like,
I can show you what it looks like in other cities. It's just,
Zoom in or something.
Yeah, you can just like
Drop it as a
drop it as a
PDF so
PDF,
they
yeah.
can click on it and
And then have like the image of just the agenda. You know, we can cut off some of the stuff that's always there, like the call to order, and just focus on the agenda items if there's a ton of stuff.
It'd also be a good opportunity, maybe on the first few, or like maybe once a month, we caption one of them with like, want to ensure that you get this information sent right to your inbox, join the Sunshine List, and then give folks access to that as well. I think a lot of people just like don't know that exists, or that they can sign up for it.
Susan, I wonder if it's, I wonder if the variant on this is, like that every, let's say Monday morning is a, like this week in city meetings sort of roundup. That might say planning commission is this day or financial recovery or whatever, rather than like each one
separately.
Have its own
one
calendar.
separately.
I will say that I think the issue that we'd run into with agendas there is that the agendas are often not all out at the beginning of the week for that
Right.
week's meetings. But what you
Yes.
could do is just do like a schedule roundup and then a link to the page on the website that,
Yeah.
where the agendas would live.
That's what I'm referring to, because I'm just
Okay.
thinking if you like, you would, because like part of the game on social media is like, you don't want to, I don't know.
You don't want to overload the algorithm.
You don't want, yeah, you don't want to overload it. You just like to do like fewer, better things is probably better for your overall. And I would just worry that we would like kind of tank the city's grade
I like that idea.
by posting too
like a
many
little
just sort of
roundup
like
would be-
boring agenda screenshots.
It is, and I appreciate that. We don't want to just be throwing
Spam it.
out.
They all
Spam.
visually look the same too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like, I don't know. So I'm for engagement and people knowing what meetings are coming up, but does that mean that we just post all of the agendas? Like, I don't know if I love that.
Do we want to put this in the communications committee
I was gonna
for
say.
further discussion?
Seems smart.
Yeah, communications.
No?
Communication.
Yeah, like,
To what end?
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess to figure out what the process would be, because one of us would need to figure it out.
And can we not just hand that off to the person who's running social media and say, this is a thing that council would like, can you figure this out?
So Civic Plus does this automatically.
It's just not super like user-friendly or navigable.
No, but we already use it to get the emails out. So if we just flip the switch to also Facebook post it,
So Civic Clerk can do a Facebook post
that's what they're,
with the platform that we have?
and it's automated
Oh,
You just do
using an
that.
RSS feed.
so maybe we like try that one week and see how it looks, and if it,
I mean, we're paying for it
yeah, we might
Yeah.
as well use it.
instead of paying additionally to do something that,
I'm going to say their website is maybe not the most aesthetically pleasing thing I've ever seen in my life,
But
but we can give it a shot.
I would say our options are, so somebody needs to do something with it. If you'd like, I can run with it, or we could put it into the other committee.
I don't think it needs to go in committee. I think it's a good idea.
it's already in committee. I mean, technically, but
Okay,
Into a
it's
different
yours.
committee.
I don't think it needs to go into another committee. I think this committee will suffice.
we don't have to
All right,
report it
so
out to replace it.
I'll go
in
ahead
another.
and reach out to admin and see if they can have Civic Clerk just post it. I'll find out what our options are, and then we can revisit it. How about that? Because if it's just going to post the images for every single meeting, that might end up being like the junk spam that we don't want. So, but if we have tools, is there a way that we can, what can we do?
So I feel like Civic Plus, like, feel like I get like different emails and lots of different things from Civic Plus that end up being like
Nonsense.
nonsense or redundant. And I would hate if that sort of like nonsense vomited onto the city's Facebook.
But I think someone who has access to both our social media and Civic Plus could just go in and like draft one and say, okay, here's what this post would look like. Do we like this? Do we want to keep doing this? And if we do, then great.
All right, we'll talk to admin.
All right, so we will keep that one in committee as well. So the minutes will reflect the 3 items that we mentioned, 2 of which are remaining in committee. The one that we will report out are the standing committee meeting dates and schedule.
That sounds great.
And then the other items will also remain in committee.
So I know we're at 7:27 and we're trying to stop at 7:30. We have this community survey, which has over 1,100 responses. And I know that we divided them up. Some folks on there said, I would like to have contact. And I think you are the one who divvied it up, and then we responded to those folks. There are now more. I'd like to figure out 2 things. One, we should probably do that again, make sure that residents aren't waiting for response. And then also start figuring out how are we going to start to, analyze the results. And I've done some of that. I'm happy to, send the results. There's, over 100 different comments, so it's not short reading. But I do want us to get a plan for what's next, because I feel like this is really vital information as we're making choices going forward.
Does SurveyMonkey provide like a data summary?
It does. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Could that just get sent to all of us? So that we have time
Absolutely.
to
That would be
review
great.
it? And then if one of us feels particularly numbers driven and has a free day and wants to like condense it into more digestible information, we can totally do that.
I feel like you're talking about Mr. Moore. But
I'm not directing
Hoover.
it at anyone.
Might I also, I spoke with a resident at the State of the City, at the community center, who indicated that they work for one of the biggest survey data companies in the world and have a lot of horsepower and expertise in that regard. I wonder if there are other individuals similar to that person that we could, tap into their skill sets and potentially have them help make even deeper meanings out of what is in there beyond what we might come up with.
What would be the best way of doing that? Would we have a meeting where we all have just all the data and then invite him to, do we send him what would be the best way to? Okay.
I would imagine that we would send the data over separately. If we all try to digest it live, it's going to end up being a 6-hour meeting where we all have thousands of questions.
Oh, yeah.
I think if we send someone who's particularly great at, as Mr. Moore is, I'm not volunteering you for this task. I'm just saying you're a good example of someone who can digest and then maybe
Sure.
make information readable for other people. And then if they're interested in doing that and then either presenting it back to us or just sending it back to us, great.
Is it basically like an ad hoc, volunteer, the DEI board, right? Is there a, data nerds for Norwood advisory board that kind of help
I would
crunch this
I would
stuff?
say it took me about over a year to create the board, so I would not
Sorry, yeah,
encourage
I'm not
that
trying to-
No, I'm just saying that I would not encourage a board, just because that is a whole thing. It's a whole legislative process.
Got it.
I think we could just maybe have an open community meeting.
We could do can we do an offsite committee of the whole meeting? We could do a committee of the whole meeting at the community center and present the information
Yeah.
once we have it in the.
Before we release it externally, should we run it through Keith? Make sure we're not releasing records.
That seems like a smart idea.
And make sure we're not releasing personally identifiable information as well. Although that would be,
There's not.
there shouldn't be anything,
The
but
only thing is when people.
And
put their name
comments,
and
yeah.
numbers. And we could certainly remove that to share at large. I feel like that's appropriate to share with the council members.
Yeah.
Especially some people are specifically saying, please
You.
call me.
Yes.
So I don't think that would need to be in what we would share to the community at large. Okay, so basically we'll just talk about it at the next meeting and see what's next. Okay.
All right, anything else? Okay. Then we will see each other again next week. All right, this meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.